I used to be the one in relationships that was like, every single dish has to be cleaned at the end of every single night. I'm not waking up with a dish.
Yeah.
That's just unacceptable.
Exactly.
That
Can
used
I
to
date
be...
that person?
No.
Can we get that Gabriella here?
But I constantly had partners who like didn't give a fuck about the dishes. Pardon me. But, and I realized maybe I don't give a fuck about the dishes. So this is now
you're bringing your past relationship baggage. Your bad ex-partners and their bad habits are coming into my relationship now. Is that?
But my point is, like, maybe the lesson for you
is that I should not care about the dishes.
Is that maybe neither of us really care about the dishes. Welcome to the Weekly Transit, a podcast exploring the intersection of Western astrology and Jungian psychology. Astrology is a language that communicates how the planets and stars influence life on Earth, while psychology helps us navigate both conscious and unconscious experiences. Together, these tools offer the potential for self-understanding, growth, and transformation. Join astrologer Scott Tajarian and me, psychotherapist Gabriella Durso, as we dive into the cosmic forecast each week.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit. This is the week of September 23rd to the 29th. This week we are highlighting Mercury's transit into Libra. First, I'd like to remind everyone, if you'd like to support the podcast, you can like this video, subscribe to our channel on YouTube or Spotify, give us a favorable rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. And if you'd like to support the podcast monetarily, you can do so on Spotify. Of course, any of these transits that you would like to learn more about for yourself, you can contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. If you'd like to learn more about your astrological code and how you can utilize working with the gifts that have been bestowed to you, you can contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. Let's get into the week, Gabriella.
Sounds good.
One highlight that I'm going to be touching on, we've already touched on it, but I'm going to continue to touch on it as we continue through the weeks ahead, especially for any listeners who are new, who've maybe not listened to past episodes. But there's a current transit that involves Jupiter, the god of thunder, lord of justice, the planet of luck and expansion, and Chiron, the wound and the ancient wisdom which is unlocked through healing that wound. Jupiter is transiting through the mutable air sign symbolized by the twins, Gemini, while Chiron is transiting through the cardinal fire sign symbolized by the ram, Aries. These two heavenly bodies are within 2 degrees of each other from September 15th to November 28th. This is the first time this has occurred with these two planets in these two signs since 1870. So it's really setting the tone for the week to create this opening for us to face our fears, our insecurities, and to take a higher approach, to really listen in to what can I learn from this experience? What questions are you afraid to ask that can maybe give you the insight that you need in order to feel more confident or authentic? So that's just kind of the overarching theme of, and the theme this week is balance, but the overarching frequency for this 2-month period, 2.5 month from mid-September to the end of November, is really encouraging us to face our fears, our insecurities, and to see what we can learn. What can we learn from these fears and insecurities? I've been hearing a lot of clients or folks in my classes say the phrase, I thought I was finished with that. I didn't realize that I didn't think I used to be insecure about that, but that's not coming up. I don't know. I thought I dealt with that. But maybe there's something deeper within. There's always another layer.
Peel the onion.
Yes, exactly.
This always comes up in therapy, right? And this is often why I think people have resistance to getting into therapy, is because of what they might have to face and what they might have to really witness within themselves.
Right. Absolutely. It's scary. You want to think that you're done with the healing because the healing was hard.
Right.
So I don't want to have to do that again, or I don't want to do that to begin with. I just want to kind of shove it down there beneath the surface and ignore it.
Well, and I experienced this too with people expressing interest about dream work too, is it's like I can feel the pull of it for people, and then sometimes a difficulty following through, or a difficulty actually being with dream content in sessions can be confronting. And I guess I'm learning in this process of trying to launch this workshop. And so I've just been noticing that in the process of marketing this the dream workshop that Pam and I are hosting, just how much resistance, and I think it's rooted in fear that there is around just facing our unconscious, working with our shadow material.
Yes.
Which is essentially are essentially areas where we feel wounded, which could be related to the Chiron placement in your chart.
Totally. Absolutely. Yeah. Because it's in the unconscious where that's where like the juicy stuff is. It's going to help the healing.
That's what's hidden.
So
often we have an awareness of our wound, but we don't yet have the awareness of sort of where do I start in the healing process?
Yes.
Because it can feel so big. And I'd love to share just an example of how this is coming up for me personally. So I'm a North Node in Aries. And so for me, facing fear is almost a daily experience for me in these sort of bite-sized ways, and then also in larger themes and sort of larger opportunities to face fear. And so what I've started to do in my personal practice is look at what is sort of the most accessible way that I can face fear today. And working on really just practicing and sort of stretching. Like I think of it as a process of stretching a tight muscle. Like I'm just going to find an area that feels most accessible today. And so part of what that's looked like for me is going for more walks, either at night or early in the morning.
When it's dark out?
When it's dark out. So I used to feel afraid walking at night, and we live in a really safe area. So the fear is really within my own system. And I've started walking either at night or really enjoying early mornings, actually, more so. And I've noticed that I can now walk winding throughout our whole neighborhood without feeling the fear that I used to. And it's become really symbolic for me of like going out and actually choosing to engage in my relationship with fear. And even my process on the walks has also changed, because I used to listen to music, or I used to do something that was
distracting
me, or that was sort of forcing me to think about a particular topic, maybe that was coming up in a song. It wasn't really about my relationship with myself. And so now when I'm walking, especially early in the mornings, I don't have any music, and I'm just in the experience fully, like fully immersed in the experience. And because no one is awake yet, there's this really sort of sacred quality to it. And I still have those moments where I hear something and turn around and kind of check. And it's usually like the neighborhood cats who are just like wide awake and staring at me walking by. They're like my only companions in the morning. But I just wanted to share how that sort of has been a really powerful, beautiful, expansive practice for me.
Such a great example.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Leaning into that fear. Mm-hmm. I love that.
So, yeah, what can you reach for?
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Thank you for that, Gabriella. I love that example. Appreciate your openness to share.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome. So we've got 8 transits that we're looking at this week, highlighted by Mercury in Libra. And Mercury is the main player this week because of these 8 transits, 5 of them involve Mercury. But the theme this week is about balance because Mercury transits into Libra, which is symbolized by the scales. But before it transits into Libra, Mercury makes 3 aspects with 3 planets. We've talked about these 3 planets because like Jupiter aligning with Chiron, these 3 planets are aligning with each other for about a month, maybe even like a couple months. That's Pluto, the god of death, lord of the underworld, the planet of transformation, transiting retrograde at the final degree, the most intense degree, the 29th degree of the cardinal earth sign, symbolized by the goat Capricorn, which is forming a sextile to Neptune, the god of fresh water and the sea, the planet of illusion, deception, compassion, intuition, the unconscious, transiting retrograde at the 28th degree through the sign of the unconscious, which it rules, the mutable water sign symbolized by the fish, Pisces. Neptune is also forming a sextile with Uranus, the primordial sky god, the planet of revolution, rebellion, innovation, independence, the unexpected. Transiting retrograde at 27 degrees in the fixed earth sign symbolized by the bull Taurus. So Uranus is forming a trine with Pluto, and Neptune is forming a sextile with both Pluto and Uranus. So they're all supportive aspects, and it's really encouraging us to step into that unexpected, revolutionizing your relationship to your self-worth and values, revolutionizing the foundation of your self-worth. As you revolutionize your relationship to your self-worth and values, you begin to transform your goals and ambitions, what you want to achieve. That's Pluto in Capricorn. But then Neptune in Pisces is saying, reimagine the dream. What's going on in your unconscious? What's hidden beneath the surface? And whatever is hidden beneath the surface will help you reimagine what it is you value. Reimagine your self-worth. Reimagine your goals and ambitions, what you're working to achieve, what you're spending your time on. Now, Mercury transits through these last 3 degrees, 27, 28, 29, of the mutable earth sign, symbolized by the Virgin, Virgo, which is ruled by Mercury. So Mercury is bringing that conscious awareness to your daily routine, your health, your diet, your job. How does my daily routine, my health, my diet, and my job reflect my self-worth and values? Is there something about my daily routine, my health, my diet, my job that is off? Is there something about it that's off? And if so, what's going on within my unconscious that I can become more aware of so that I can course correct? And it's also bringing that conscious awareness to what am I spending my time on? From the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, and how is what I'm spending my time on leading me to my goals and ambitions?
So you're talking about alignment.
Absolutely.
Being clear and consistent with what you value, and does that actually reflect what you're doing?
Exactly. And this is where the balance comes in. Because when Mercury transits into Libra, it brings that conscious awareness to relationships. Now, the person or people that I'm attracting into my life, they're going to reflect me. So I want to realign myself in a way that is going to attract the right people. If you say that, well, I want a partner that's this, that, or the next thing, but then you're not this, that, or the next thing, then that's not what you're going to attract. You're going to attract whatever you are. Whatever that frequency is, it's the mating call, the energetic mating call that we're sending out.
Well, this is very interesting.
Tell me.
And maybe this is a rabbit hole, but
let's dive in.
When you consider that question of like what you are and where does that attraction kind of come from, we have to acknowledge that it's not just coming from the conscious part of what we are.
Exactly.
It's coming from the unconscious.
Yes.
It's coming from the parts that you have suppressed, which are part of who you are, but they're like the boxes that you've brought into the basement and sort of locked away.
Yep.
But that is part of who you are.
Yes.
And so oftentimes what we're attracting are people who are conscious of or exhibiting the qualities within us that we have suppressed.
Yes.
Because we're looking for wholeness.
Yes.
But often, we end up with this like toxic relationship perspective where it's like two halves equal a whole. And maybe that is how it starts, is like you're looking for someone else to
complete me.
Yeah, you're looking for someone to complete you.
Yeah.
But really, and maybe that's how it starts, what you're wanting is wholeness within your own system. But it can start in relationships. That can be the entry point to becoming more aware of those parts of yourself. But you have to be willing to first recognize that that's part of what drew you to that person. I mean, this is why like couples work and relationships are so powerful and transformative, because those qualities that drive us nuts in other people are asking us to see something within ourselves, within our own systems.
Yes. So it's like we need to become aware of those boxes in the basement, but the only way that we become aware of them is when we invite someone into our house that is carrying those same boxes as they walk
they're like,
in.
hey, here, I brought you a present. You're like, no. That goes in the basement. Yeah, we don't, that's not allowed in the living room. I don't think so.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and this is shadow work.
Yes.
The term shadow work is literally go down and get the boxes, open them up, and recognize that that is you. What are you going to do about that stuff that's down there?
Exactly. And that's how we find the balance within ourselves and the balance within our relationships, is by drudging up all of the unconscious that we need to reconcile, that we need to bring to the surface. In a sense, it's almost like someone comes in and puts their box on your scale, and the scale's out of balance, so your box in the basement needs to come up, and then you have to deal with your two boxes together. And that creates... First, it feels uncomfortable because they're both on the scale, but then you bring it out and you're like, okay, now it feels balanced.
But
we've acknowledged it.
Yeah. But you're also representing something for the other person that they would like to become more conscious of.
Yes.
Whether they are aware of that or not, that's really what's going on.
Yes. Exactly. It's a two-way street. So And this is how the week begins with Mercury opposing Neptune, the planet of the conscious mind, Mercury, in the sign that represents the physical consciousness, which is Virgo. I can see it, I can taste it, I can touch it, I can feel it. Opposing the planet of the unconscious, Neptune, the planet of dreams, in Pisces, the sign that it rules, the sign of the unconscious, the sign of dreams. So there's an awakening, there's an awareness here, and then Mercury transits into Libra, where it will be from September 26th to October 13th. So it's a quick trip because Mercury's back up at full speed. So just a few weeks, September 26th to October 13th. And it's going to bring that conscious awareness to your relationships. Does it feel balanced? Does it feel fair? Do our boxes match? Does our baggage match? And what can we do to help each other unload some of this baggage rather than just getting angry at somebody for bringing baggage into your house? It's like, oh, okay, you brought this baggage into my house. That must mean that's a sign. Maybe I have something like this in my house. I think about it as like these games. The sun's transiting through my 5th house right now. So I've been playing a lot of these games on the iPhone and like matching games. Where it's like this block goes with that block. And when you bring them together, they disappear. It's like bringing the baggage together.
That's also very Virgo season.
Yeah, totally. Well, and that when the
They're
sun's
like organizing.
Yes, when the sun's in my 5th house, which is games, it's in Virgo. So I like organizing and playing these games. But it's a lot of matching and then they disappear. So maybe it's like somebody comes into your house with some baggage and you're like, why is this baggage in my house now? Do I have baggage like this? And then you look around in the closets, the basement, the attic, and you're like, oh my God, I have the same baggage. Then you bring it together and now it disappears. Because that person is helping you recognize that you have something within your unconscious that you need to deal with.
Yes. And so often, instead of being willing to look inside and look where that is living within you, it's so much easier to point the finger and to see that whatever that quality is, it's so much more comfortable for us to see it in the other than it is to see it in ourselves.
Yep, exactly.
And so the truth is that it lives in both places. But takes a lot of courage to be willing to look at that.
Yeah. Like your partner really annoys you and that's something about you that you need to look at within yourself.
It's something you've denied within yourself for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Maybe it wasn't safe to be that way in your childhood.
Yeah. Or what do you think? Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe it's something that you want to start doing. Maybe it's an impulse that you've been denying within yourself.
Right. I'm tired of being with this person who's a drama queen. I'm going to be the drama queen now.
Well, I think about this like with us. Like you and I are always griping at each other about the dishes. Right?
Yeah, I guess so.
You left dishes in the sink.
I'm griping at you about the dishes.
It goes back
you gripe
and forth.
At me too?
I used to.
You gripe at me about other things.
I feel like I used to be the one. So I used to be the one in relationships that was like, every single dish has to be cleaned at the end of every single night. I'm not waking up with a dish.
Yeah.
That's just unacceptable.
Exactly.
Can I
date that person?
No.
Can we get that Gabriella here?
But I constantly had partners who like didn't give a fuck about the dishes. Pardon me, but and I realized maybe I don't give a fuck about the dishes. So this is now
you're bringing your past relationship baggage. Your bad ex-partners and their bad habits are coming into my relationship now. Is that?
But my point is, like, maybe the lesson for you
is that I should not care about the dishes.
Is that maybe neither of us really care about the dishes. Like, maybe what you're wanting and you're griping about the dishes for with me is that you want to be less bothered by your own sort of messiness.
Yeah, I do. But I mean, that just means I guess I have to move back in with my mom because she always kept the kitchen clean. So that's how I like it. I don't want to have any dishes in the sink or any of that. Because that's what I was raised with. And she would gripe at me to like wash the dish and that sort of stuff. But ultimately, like, she's making sure that it's all getting done. And so, I don't know. Yeah. It's a lot to unpack there.
But we're both coming into relationship with, like, how I think of messiness is that's the right side of the brain. That's the creative, imaginative side. And so, yes, it's unpleasant to live in a messy space, but what does that really represent? What is that about?
So we want to be on that right side of the brain? No, left side. Left side's the creative side, yeah?
No, right side is the creative side.
Right side is
left
creative.
side is like the linear side.
So the linear side is wash the dishes, right?
Well, we need both sides of our brain just to function.
Yeah.
Right? We need wholeness. So that begins in the brain. So there's no right right or wrong. But.
So now you're saying that you need to be doing the dishes more to activate your left side of the brain.
Okay, let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move forward.
Very well, very well. So as we move deeper into the week, so really like that, those three transits and Mercury moving into Libra, that's the lion's share of the week. And then these last four transits all occur exact on Sunday, but they kind of bleed into the middle of the week and you start to pick them up. But Mercury makes those alignments in Virgo with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Those happen on Tuesday and Wednesday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, Mercury moves into Libra. 4 transits happening on Sunday. One's actually Monday, but I wanted to talk about it this week rather than for next week. We'll talk about it more next week too, but these transits involve the Sun and Mercury. The Sun is also transiting through Libra, and Mercury is going to catch up to the Sun and pass the Sun. That's the transit that happens on Monday, next Monday, the 30th, which that is because Mercury has been doing the retrograde thing and is now catching up to the Sun and is passing the Sun. So it's going to be conjunct with the Sun on Monday, September 30th. As it catches up to the Sun and Mercury both align in opposition to the North Node in Aries. So again, themes around self-confidence, insecurities, authenticity, courage, and how that is reflecting within our relationships. If your relationship feels out of balance, it might be because you are not being seen, you're not being heard, and you need to exert yourself in some way so that you can be seen and heard. That might mean facing some fears and insecurities around speaking up for yourself. So these transits with the Sun and Mercury in Libra opposing the North Node in Aries, they begin around Thursday with the Sun and continue to Monday. Mercury is Saturday to Monday with the exact on Sunday. So as we start the week and think about what's happening within our unconscious, our daily lives, our goals and ambitions, our values, and how we're incorporating that into our daily lives and then into our relationships, there may be an ask, there may be a demand that we need from our partner, a friend, lover, business partner, whatever it may be, to create that sense of balance and fairness.
So you might be the one making the request, or you might be receiving the request.
Yeah, or the demand.
The demand, rather. And it's probably going to be both.
Right, yes.
Because nothing will put you in touch quicker of your own demands than having demands asked of you. It's like, oh, you need that? Well, I need this.
Yeah. I'm the king of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah? Well, then...
Well, if you're doing that, then if you're going to ask me to do this, then I need you to do that.
Exactly.
But some of that's healthy. It's it's the balancing. It's like the image of the scales. You know, they don't have these scales at grocery stores anymore because they weigh it for you at the checkout. But there used to be a scale in the grocery where you could weigh how much your produce cost. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it's not the same kind of scale like that has two sorts of sides on it, but that is sort of what's happening. It's like you're putting a request on one side of the scale, and then the other side comes up, and maybe that was too much. So there's like a negotiating process.
Exactly. And when you say this is healthy, this is the healthiest time for you to make those demands and requests. Like you really want to... This is the negotiating period. Now is the time to negotiate, to think of yourself as a diplomat. You're going to the table. You're making your demands, your requests. Some may be negotiable, and some may be like, I'm getting this or I'm walking away from the table. It all depends on what it means to you. And that's where it goes back to values. We may value something differently than the person that we're negotiating with, and that may create a crux where we can't come to an agreement. But at least if we've had the conversation and we've communicated what my needs are versus what I can give, or what your needs are versus what you can give, and we haven't been able to construct a bridge, but we've had the discussion, we can walk away in peace. And when you think of Libra, that's what Libra is about. Peace. Libra rules the kidneys. And the kidneys are that organ in the body that eliminates all the toxicities out of the blood. So it's about having no bad blood. The way you have no bad blood is by having the conversation of, is this going to work? I want this, you want that. Can we make it work? If it's a yes, yay, then we both feel like we've won. If it's a no, then at least we can walk away with no bad blood, knowing that, look, it's just not going to work. But we've been upfront with each other.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. We have two kidneys. They're sort of in relationship with themselves.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
balancing each kidney being responsible for certain filtering. I don't know how that works between the two kidneys.
Yeah.
How they sort of manage the balance of that.
Right.
That's kind of curious, but
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's just one other transit, which is Mars, the god of war, the planet of action, aggression, and conflict, transiting through the cardinal water signs symbolized by the crab, Cancer, forming a trine, a supportive aspect with Saturn, the god of wealth and time, the planet of restriction, responsibility, hard work, achievement, and authority, transiting retrograde through Pisces. So this is occurring from Wednesday to Wednesday, September 25th to October 2nd, with the exact trine occurring on Sunday, September 29th, which I really feel is a beautiful aspect to include in relation to all these other aspects and transits that are occurring this week. Because Mars transiting through Cancer is potentially taking an aggressive look at your past. Your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, your ancestors, and connecting the thread from your past to your unconscious. Because maybe I am. You know how many times I'm talking with a client or in a class and somebody is going through something and it's just like what their parents went through, which is just like what their parents went through, and so on and so forth down the ancestral line. So what are you carrying from your past or from your ancestry that exists within your unconscious? It's now time for you to take responsibility for what is in your unconscious, even though it came from your mother, your father, your grandfather, your grandmother, your ancestors. It's now yours. A lot of those people might not even be alive. So you're carrying their burdens within yourself.
Whether consciously or unconsciously.
Exactly. But I think that part of the way you delve into the unconscious is to look at your present reality. What is it about your present reality that you don't like?
Yeah, what are your triggers, or what activates you?
Yes. There's something there to investigate within your unconscious. And that's what Mars is helping us do. Because Mars, when you look at the symbol for Mars, it's a circle with an arrow pointed in a clear direction. It's going someplace.
So it's the anger. Like, what are you angry about?
Anger may be
what brings
coming
up
up.
that fire?
Yes, anger may be coming up in your home, in your family life, that is rooted in your past, that is going to awaken your unconscious and say, why am I always so angry about this? And then you ask the question, and then the universe brings you an answer through a dream, through a sign, a symbol. Oh, it's that.
Well, and anger is such a powerful communicator. It can be communicating simply anger as a valid emotion all on its own, or it can also be communicating something else that's underneath that is coupled with the anger, like another emotion. Anger can also be communicating to us that our boundaries have been crossed in some way. And boundaries, we have to remember, are not just about people invading your space. Boundaries can also be you have too much space from people. Like if you're someone who experienced emotional neglect as a child, that's too much space. That's a boundary. Like that line was too far away. There wasn't enough connection.
Yeah,
so it can go both ways.
Wow.
Yeah, people can invade our boundaries, or they can give us too much space.
Yes. So they crossed a boundary by abandoning us, in a sense.
In a way, it's kind of counterintuitive,
Yeah.
I guess, but it really makes sense to me. If you think of a boundary as sort of like a line drawn in the sand, is the line too close or too far away?
Right. Because like if you're a parent with a child, a boundary could be, I need to be close to my child. If you get too far from your child or you abandon your child, you've crossed the boundary of responsibility for the child.
Right. Well, and either extreme is problematic when it comes to boundaries.
Yes.
You're too close or you're too far away.
Wow. So a lot of opening this week, really. This is what's going to help create that balance is by delving into your past, your ancestry, taking responsibility for what's going on in your unconscious is going to help you become aware of where boundaries have been crossed. Once you renegotiate within yourself and within your relationships the nature of those boundaries, and they're agreed upon, you create balance in your relationship with yourself, in your relationship with your partners. And then on Monday, next Monday, the 30th, is when Mercury forms that conjunction with the sun. And it's just the clarity of this is what relationships are all about. I understand the give and take. It feels balanced. It feels fair. And I'm so grateful to be in relationship with you.
I think what we've learned through this, which we haven't really said explicitly, but we know that this can be kind of a challenge for that Libra energy, is this idea that in order to reach harmony, that you have to engage with disagreement or with conflict. You don't reach a point of true harmony by avoiding.
Exactly. I was saying this to a client today. When you look at Libra and Aries, these two signs have to be direct, clear. And Libra is often seen as that sign that's the people pleaser or indirect or passive. But that's really the lower frequency of Libra. The higher frequency of Libra is clarity of what I want and what I can give in return.
And clarity and awareness of what would create balance as well.
Exactly. And being open to, now you tell me what you want and what you can give in return. And now that I know what you want and what you can give in return, and you know what I want and what I can give in return, we can suss it out and figure out if this is something that's going to work for the two of us. So that by the time we're done talking, we both feel like we're getting what we want, or we're walking away in peace with no bad blood. Because we've been direct and upfront with each other. That's the high frequency of Libra. That's what we're going for during this Libra season.
Well, and part of what I think you're describing is an individuation process. Like becoming clear about who you are in the relationship and what you need and what you have to offer is going to potentially, most likely, bring you into conflict, more conflicts with your partner.
Yes.
But in service of being able to work through them and reach that point of harmony. So it's really common, like in couples therapy, for things to get more contentious before they get better, as each individual is called into how they really feel, what they really need, what's missing. Which is a bit of I think a misconception sometimes about doing this work.
What do you mean?
Is that it's going to just immediately bring you more comfort. Like I hear this a lot in therapy, like, I don't know why I'm coming, I don't feel better. I've said that to my own therapist. Well, I don't feel any better coming here. It's like, okay, well, not yet.
Yeah.
But also the process of becoming more conscious doesn't always feel better. Ultimately, hopefully it does, because you're seeing things that you haven't seen before and it's in service of your spiritual growth.
Yes.
But every step of the way, like, doesn't necessarily feel good. And facing those conflicts is a really important part of getting to the point where you are able to reap the rewards of your hard work.
That's right.
So this is kind of a work week is what I hear.
Absolutely.
Like you're climbing the mountain.
It's a work
in
week.
The basement.
Yes.
you're doing it.
It's a work week, absolutely. But there's also a lot of support.
In doing the work.
A lot of support in doing the work.
Yeah.
Yes. And when you talk about work and strain, I just want to also point out that I think the strain's going to kind of hit us on Tuesday. Just to rewind back a little earlier in the week, because that is when the moon will be transiting through Cancer and it's going to square the sun in Libra. So Tuesday could be the day that kind of brings up that uncomfortableness from your past that floods into your relationship, and it's going to be kind of that impetus where you're not going to feel better about things, but it's going to get things out and cleared so that hopefully it will feel better later on. But it's finding that the balance between relationship, who you are in relationship, and who you were in your past, or where you come from, what you were taught in your childhood of what relationships mean.
Powerful.
Yes.
Yeah. Our question today comes from Johnny. What are signifiers in your chart for monetary wealth, and how might you obtain it?
When I think of wealth and money, I think of the second house and the eighth house. The second house is associated with the second sign, which is Taurus. Taurus is symbolized by the bull. The bull is that symbol of Wall Street, where the stockbrokers want a bull market, which means the stocks are going up, we're making money, yay. There's even a bull in front of Wall Street. But then there's the eighth house, which is the house of death, which is directly opposite the second house. The house of death is associated with the eighth sign, which is Scorpio, which represents the money that I share with other people. So the sign that your eighth house is in indicates what money looks like for you in intimacy, intimate bonds, whether it be a business partner or a lover, a spouse. Where the second house, the sign that your second house is in, indicates how you relate to money for yourself, your self-worth. So for instance, if you were born with the second house in Leo, then, and remember, everything is high frequency, low frequency. The higher frequency of Leo is the second house in Leo. You're the king or the queen. And you're going to get whatever you want, whatever you need. The lower frequency is you may be indulgent, and you may put yourself in bad situations financially because you're not being responsible. You're acting like the queen or the king, and just think that you have limitless resources. But once you get that responsibility in check, money will flow back to you. Now, of course, you also want to look and see what planets are in the second house or in the eighth house. If there's no planets in either of those houses, no worries. It's just one ingredient. It's whatever sign the house is in. But if there's planets in those houses, then it's going to tell you a little bit more about your wealth energy. Like if Pluto's in the second house, you may go through deaths and rebirths where you make a lot of money and then you lose a lot of money. And it all kind of centers in back to how you're taking care of yourself, what you value. If you're losing money, then you need to get your values in check. Once you do, then you'll be making money again. Also, where's Venus in your astrological code? Because Venus is the planetary ruler of the second house. So it's a planet that is associated with money. Mercury as well, because Mercury represents commerce. Mercury is the god of merchants and thieves. So it's how you share or exchange money with others. What sign is that in? That's going to tell you more about that. But like if Venus is in Leo, Leo's just such an easy example. If Venus in Leo, in relationships, you're going to feel like, I need to get what I want. I'm the queen. But if you're indulgent, then money might flow away from you. So it's always how you're working with the energy. But just simply put, second house, what sign is your second house in? What sign is your eighth house in? What sign is your second house in is your money. What sign is your eighth house in? That is money that comes to you through your intimate bonds. And then the planets in those two houses are going to give you the nuances of what that can mean as well.
Thank you. That was really clear
Okay, good.
concise.
Good.
And just to speak to the second part of the question of how you might obtain it, I'm wondering if there might be some information in that in either the midheaven or the 10th house, knowing that 10th house is your career and is work. And most of us generate monetary wealth through our work. It's not always the case. Sometimes it's inherited or we, marry into it, for example. But for most people, obtaining monetary wealth is going to come through work. And so looking at the 10th house, just like you did with the 2nd and the 8th, can help us understand maybe what are the themes for us in work, what are our strengths when it comes to our relationship with work, how to best be approaching it might be useful. And also maybe part of fortune as well can help us indicate the area where we're lucky, which could be connected to work, money.
It could be connected to anything.
Right.
But yes. So the 10th house has a strong relationship with both the 2nd and the 8th house because they're all even houses. So it all boils down, start with the 2nd house. What do I value? If you want to attain wealth, you need to be clear about what you value. If you're unclear about what you value, then you're going to have a difficult time obtaining wealth.
That makes sense.
Yes. Now we got to bring in the 4th house. So if we're going to bring in the 10th, we got to bring in the 4th. The 4th this is where I come from. What's your family relationship like? What's your relation? Because your family influences your values. And maybe there's something about your family values where you come from that they align with where you are now. You love it. But then there might be others where circumstances where you're like, no, I don't want to take that with me. And that's also going to influence the 8th house, the people that you're attracting into your life, those bonds. And so then you bring the 10th house in and you're like, okay, do my values, my roots, and my intimate bonds all relate to or support my goals and ambitions? And if those 4 are in alignment, you're flowing and wealth will come to you.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They're all like these sort of building blocks or puzzle pieces.
Yep.
And how things fit together.
Exactly.
Great question. Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you, Gabriella. And thank you to all of our listeners. Again, like and subscribe to this channel if you're watching on YouTube. And again, if you would like to learn more about how these transits or more about your astrological code and how to work with this energy to create wealth in your life or to just navigate life, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com.
And we're getting down to the wire for my dream workshop. If you're still feeling the call to attend or would like to have a check-in with me about whether or not it's the right fit for you right now, please reach out. We have added a second time for the group, which will be on Tuesday evenings at 6:30. So we have a Friday morning at 10 a.m., Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. has been added, Pacific Standard Time for both of those. So if you're feeling the call, you want to slide in to one of our open spots, please reach out, or you can find more information on my website, GabriellaDurso.com, on the workshop tab.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabriella.
Thank you, Scott.
Until next week.
Until then.
Thank you for listening to The Weekly Transit. If you're curious to learn how these transits or any other transits may be affecting you, or if you're interested in learning more about your astrological code, contact me for a reading at theweeklytransit.com. If you're interested in delving into the world of psychotherapy with Gabriella, you can schedule a consultation with her at GabriellaDurso.com. That's GabriellaDurso.com. Support for the podcast can be done through a monthly contribution on Spotify, rating us 5 stars, subscribing to our channel on YouTube, or writing a favorable review on Apple Podcasts. We are grateful for your support. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog-Lyman. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.